Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of SuperFantaFi. This week's show, we're talking about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about I'm the Evil Lord of an Intergalactic Empire, Season 1, Episode 5. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. First and foremost, get a lot more clarity and answers. Like, I was completely off about is this whole Christiana thing happening at a different point in time? It's like, is what's happening with Liam and them like not in the same time frame? Are those storylines out of sync? And it's like, no, it seems like they are, because the pirates that Liam dealt with last episode were the same pirates that has Christiana, and we see that person in the tube in their hand, the eye on their hand. You look at the intro, it looks exactly like Christiana's eyes color and stuff. You're like, wow, they really did do that, huh? It's only a little glimpse, and I kind of didn't want to go back and rewind to make sure, because I was like, that's depressing. Once again, it's like, oh, fun, haha, hilarity ensued. Oh, there's also super mega depressing stuff here. I mean, not unless that's someone else, because they have experimented on other people, so it could just be like someone who just happens to have the same eye color, but they made it seem like they were going to start on her immediately. So that's why I'm wondering, is that her? I was like, if so, that's heartbreaking and depressing if that is her, but it might be kind of like a switch up making you think it's her, but it's not her. I don't know. Because if it is her, it's like, well, how did they reverse that? Because we see that Christiana looks like herself when she's with Liam, like in episode 1, so we haven't gotten to that story point yet. So I can only assume like either that's not her, they're able to rewind and undo what was done, or not unless they implant her consciousness in a body that looks closer to what her body originally looked like. I have no idea. I'm curious to see what that ends up being. I hope it's a thing of that's not her. I mean, it's still depressing that happened to someone. Obviously, there's countless victims, but I would hope that never happened to her at all, because even if it did happen to her and it got reversed, it's still like, oh, that's dark and depressing, you know? So there's all that. But, kind of getting away from all that, going to a little bit of levity, I guess, in the episode is, now the question is, now that, like, we've taken down all these pirate ships, Liam's first battle was a success, now they've captured all these pirate ships and they get to keep them, and Liam is, from his world, obviously more like our world, has that notion of, oh, they gotta have gold and treasure, but it's like, well, they have these like metals like orichalcum, which obviously if you're a video game nerd, you're like, oh, orichalcum's like the best stuff, especially if you're like a JRPG fan, like a Kingdom Hearts fan. It's like, oh, you need orichalcum to make like the ultimate weapons and stuff like that. I'm sure it's applicable in Final Fantasy games as well. But either way, so I'm like, oh, that seems pretty important. I mean, those metals are very important, where stuff like gold is used for other purposes. But he's like, no, fine, whatever gold we have, make them into gold coins. I want them to fill my room. He wants to go full Scrooge McDuck, funny enough. But it's kind of like, why would you do that? Do you want us to take those rare metals and do the same thing and make them coins? He's like, no, make them into weapons. But it's just like, because he has his preconceived notion of what wealth looks like. In this world, gold doesn't have that same value. So it's like, it's not a show of wealth. It's kind of like, that's not really anything. Also, they have like 10,000 ships, but only 2,000 of them actually are fully operational. So it's like, all right, let's get rid of them. But Brian's like, no. You have to keep up the facade, because like if you get rid of the lesser ships we have, the more it's going to look bad upon us. We need to show the pirates, show a strength. But it's like, what's the point of keeping ships? I mean, obviously, if you're faking out your enemy, making it seem like you have way more than you do, then like, sure, I guess. But at the same time, Brian wants to keep it for aesthetic purposes, because it's like the prestige of having so many ships. But even Liam's like, my dad being so caught up in like the vanity of it all is why my family continue to be in the massive debt that it is. So no, screw that. Because even Amagi says, like, the main reason why they won the battle is, like, yeah, they had 2,000 ships, but that's because the pirates underestimated them, and Liam played a massive part in their victory. So it's like, it's like, right, we should get some more ships, but rather than getting, like, brand new high-class ships, let's get second-hand ships that can fill out our ranks more. And so Amagi's making these suggestions, while Brian is, like, Amagi's being like practical about the applications of them, versus Brian so caught up in the societal element of it. Like, they gotta like, boast of what they accomplish, and it's like, oh, what we show kind of is representative of our family, of like, Liam's family status and stuff like that. So once again, he's stuck in that kind of mode, and like that's how he views the whole thing. So obviously in the long run, Liam cares more about the practicality of it all. It's like, oh, I get my cool battleships and we want to fight, and even if it means secondhand, I don't care. If it means bolstering our war front and like our battlefront, then I don't care. Also, at the same time, we catch up with the guide, still feeding off like little petty, like negative emotion things, like these inconveniences and stuff like that. It's like tasty appetizers. But then he's like, ooh, but what about Liam? That's a delicacy that I've let brew. Oh, I'm sure he's miserable right now. He's in so much debt. Yes. And he shows up where Liam is, and he's like, wait, what? Why is this place prosperous? How is this happening? He's like, dude, no. Okay, I sent him a third-rate swordsman to be his master, so like he's got it failed, right? And then we have Yasushi in the bar, which I thought was kind of stupid on his part. He's drunk, blabbling about, well, he doesn't give anything away. He does say like, I'm a second and third-rate person, but I guess no one in the bar is going to really go tell Liam what was said. But he's just kind of like, I can't believe that kid actually grew to be a first-rate swordsman. And then the guide's overlooking all this, like, what? How? And then he's just kind of looking at Liam, like how powerful Liam's become. And Liam's talking to Amagi. He's like, do you think I've caught up to my master? And Amagi's like, yeah, I couldn't really perceive your movement, so I think you're at the same point. But Liam's just kind of like, nah, Yasushi was most likely holding back. He could cut probably like all this down even further away, or even further away. I still got a long way to go. And he's bigging up Yasushi in his head, even though he's already severely outclassed Yasushi. And in fact, he doesn't only want to thank Yasushi because he's like, oh, everything I've been through is not only my master. He's like, if it wasn't for the guy who brought me here and reincarnated here, I'll thank you, guide. And the guide's choking on it. He's like, oh, this positive energy is practically about to kill me. I got to get some negative energy. And he's sitting there sniffing like, off of Yasushi's negative emotions. I was like, oh, he's like, good. That was able to sustain me. And so for him, it's like, I can't believe things have turned around for him. And like, he's like, did I miscalculate? Did I send him to the wrong world? But he's like, no, I've actively tried to ruin his life, and somehow his life is better for it. I don't know how that is. But he's like, oh, it's okay. Even things good right now. He's like, the higher the rise, the farther the fall. Because he's like, yeah, let him get built up. It's going to taste that much more delicious when he ultimately crashes and burns, essentially. So we have all that going down. And it ties into the Nias of it all, her story, where obviously like they're trying to sell ships to the imperial government. She's like, right, these ships, they don't look like the fanciest thing ever, but they're like 70% more powerful when it comes to performance than the current models. And look at this, look at that. Then like the seventh workshop or whatever, the third workshop or whatever was like, hey, look at our ships, they're more like luxurious. And it's like, yeah, they have good performance and stuff, but they're also like spending a lot of time to make them look great. And I figured that would be what the difference would be. And Nias is like, who cares, like our performance is better. And the person who works for the third workshop is like, well, what it comes down to is that with all this like luxury elements to it, the staff is going to be more like relaxed, so they're going to perform better. So it's like technically our performance is better like in the long run. And it's like, I mean, it doesn't matter if your performance is better when the imperial government chose to buy our ships instead. So it doesn't matter if you'll perform, because on a battlefield, like it won't matter because you won't be on the battlefield anyway. Our ships will, so we kind of win in the end. And so now, like, Nias has to drown in all this. She's like, oh my god, I'm getting chewed out by my boss. But she's like, if I could find some sucker to offload these ships to. And she's like, oh my god, Liam, who wanted to, like, control a mobile knight manually, oh my god, he's the perfect sucker. So what does she do? She shows up, visits Yasushi, and asks him. Obviously they're having two different conversations, being like, what is Liam into? He's reading it as, oh, you want to talk to me, you want to know what I'm into, because she's trying to, like, it's like, right, you're his master, so you know him better than anyone else, so you'll be able to, like, give me an idea how to get closer to him. And so Yasushi, she's like, oh, I need to find out his hobbies and what he likes. And Yasushi lays out his fetishes. And then it's like, oh, this is, and she's thinking this is what Liam's going to like. And it's like, oh, what about stockings? And he's like, fishnets and a garter belt. And so she shows up flaunting and stuff like that, but it does absolutely nothing for Liam, because in fact it traumatizes him a little bit, because he's like, oh yeah, my wife like wore like very sexy lingerie, like very special lingerie like that was expensive and stuff, but he's like, we never slept together. So he's immediately thinking like, that's probably meaning she was wearing that for my boss, meaning even that far back they were already having an affair. You're like, oh Jesus. And so for him, it's like he was never going to get a boner in a situation, even though he was staring at Neos's boobs and stuff last episode. It's still the situation of this trauma is keeping him from getting hard, and he's like, nah, I can't. He's like, she's like, wait, you were staring at my boobs? He's like, yeah, but it's not because of you, it's because of trauma. So yeah, Neos is doing her thing, trying to be as sexy as possible, but it's not working, and it's just kind of like, it's more so out of pity. He's just like, please stop, because you're making this worse. Fine, buy 200 ships. She's like, how about 300? It's like, fine. Moggy, can we make it work? She's like, yeah, we'll be kind of close, but we'll make it work. And at least in the long run, the ships won't go to waste. And so Neos is so happy, and she immediately tells her boss, like, oh my God, I did it. I seduced him. Even her boss was like, are you sure you seduced him? Did you really do it? It's like, well, she had to boast her own confidence, because it's like, well, no one wants to be like, oh, you were so repulsed by me, you didn't get turned on. Once again, it's not Neos's fault. It's more like the trauma associated just made him think about his ex-wife, who kind of, left him shattered and broken, So that would do a number on anything sexy about what she was doing, Which Brian is overhearing this and being like, oh my God, she honey trapped Lord Liam. And then Yasushi is like, oh my God, based on everything that she's saying, Liam must have been all over her. How dare that bastard do that? Even though it's like he turned, like he had no interest in her at all in that moment. But now you're like, well, Yasushi's going to put him through the ringer again, like he did last episode, because of Neos. But there he is in Amagi's lap, getting his ears like scrubbed or like clean, and he's like, this is so peaceful, and she's like, yeah, it is, and just kind of smiles. So yeah, calm a little before the storm, I guess, because that's going to come their way. Brian's going to have his complaints about Neos. I'm sure Neos is going to, as we see, she's going to be bothering you more and more in the future, because, well, you kind of opened that door already, and she's going to feel like she'll be able to kind of spin this situation to her favor going forward. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see where the next episode ends up taking us going forward with all of this. I'm excited to see what happens. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.